Before we dive into this breaking story that is shaking the very foundation of our democracy, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave a comment below with your honest thoughts on these latest developments. We need to hear from you. Now, let's get into it. The world is staring into the abyss today, and the words coming out of the White House have sent a chill through every corner of the globe. We are witnessing a moment that defies every norm of international diplomacy and human decency. President Donald Trump has just issued a threat so massive, so final, and so terrifying that it has brought the gears of global politics to a grinding halt. On the morning of April 7th, 2026, the president took to social media and told the world that a whole civilization could die. Tonight, he wasn't talking about a natural disaster. He wasn't talking about an accident. He was talking about a choice. He was talking about Iran. This is a country of 90 million people, and the leader of the free world just suggested they might never be brought back. Again, the weight of those words is impossible to ignore. It is the kind of rhetoric that changes the world before a single shot is even fired. People everywhere are glued to their screens, watching the clock tick down, wondering if we are about to witness something the world has not seen in generations. This isn't just another headline in a busy news cycle. This is a breaking point. It is a moment where the language of power has turned into the language of extinction. From the halls of Congress to the streets of Tehran, everyone is asking the same question. How did we get here? And is there any way back? The air is thick with alarm, and for many, the silence from the administration's allies is just as loud as the president's threats. This is news that demands your full attention because the stakes are, quite literally, life and death for millions. We are going direct into the heart of this crisis right now. To understand the gravity of this situation, you have to look at the exact words that triggered this firestorm. President Trump didn't just hint at military action, he set a deadline. He gave the Iranian government until 8 o'clock Eastern Time to comply with a list of demands or face what he called massive destruction. This is a high-stakes game of chicken with 90 million lives in the balance. The president's posts were not just background noise, they were a digital weapon. He spoke about the complete demolition of power plants and bridges. He even gave it a name, calling Power Plant Day and Bridge Day. Think about what that means for a moment. It's a threat to plunge an entire nation into total darkness. It's the threat to cut off food, water, and health care for every man, woman, and child in that country. The international experts and legal scholars are already coming forward to say that these threats by themselves are a violation of the laws of war. They are calling it a speech act that terrorizes. You don't have to be a general to understand why the world is in a panic. When the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military on earth says a whole civilization will die, people listen. They don't just listen, they feel the weight of it in their bones. This isn't just about politics anymore. This is about the basic rules of human life on this planet. The president is holding an entire nation hostage, and the clock is moving faster than anyone can believe. This is a moment where the very idea of American leadership is being tested in the most extreme way possible. As the president's threats echoed across the internet, the reaction from the other side of the political aisle was swift and filled with a sense of pure alarm. One voice stood out above the rest, cutting through the noise with a message that has now gone viral globally. Representative Ilhan Omar did not hold back. She didn't just disagree with the president. She framed his actions as something far more dangerous. She called the president's threats toward Iran sickeningly evil. Those are strong words, even for a town as divided as Washington, D.C. But Omar didn't stop there. She argued that this isn't just a policy dispute or a tough negotiating tactic. She described it as an unhinged moment that puts the entire world at risk. Her anger was visible, and her message was clear. This cannot be allowed to stand. She is looking directly at her colleagues in Congress and asking them a very difficult question. She is asking when it will be enough. She is asking when they will grow a spine and take action. Omar is framing this as a moral crisis for the United States. She believes that the president has crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. To her, this isn't just about Iran. It's about what America stands for. If a president can threaten to wipe out a civilization on a whim, then what is left of our values? Her words have ignited a firestorm of their own, drawing a sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have a president who says he is doing what it takes to protect the country. On the other, you have leaders like Omar, who say he has lost his way and is leading the world toward a catastrophe. The tension has now reached a boiling point on Capitol Hill, and Ilhan Omar has taken the ultimate step. She isn't just calling for a debate. She isn't just asking for a vote. She is demanding that Donald Trump be impeached and removed from office immediately. Her logic is simple. A leader who threatens genocide is not fit to hold the nuclear codes. She said it plainly. Donald Trump must be impeached. This isn't the first time the word impeachment has been thrown around in this administration, but this time it feels different. It's not about a phone call or a business deal. It's about a threat to human life on a scale that is almost impossible to imagine. Omar is being joined by other prominent voices who are saying the same thing. They are calling for the invocation of the 25th Amendment. They are saying that the president's rhetoric is proof that he is no longer capable of carrying out his duties. This is a direct challenge to the president's power. It is an attempt to stop the clock before that 8 o'clock deadline arrives. The halls of Congress are filled with a sense of urgency that we haven't seen in years. Lawmakers are being forced to choose between loyalty to their party and what Omar calls their patriotic duty. She's accusing the president of waging an illegal war without any approval from the people's representatives. She is saying that the president is acting like a king, not a president, and that the consequences will be felt for generations. The air in Washington is thick with the scent of a constitutional showdown. What makes this moment so historic is how it has completely shattered the normal rules of politics. We are no longer talking about taxes or health care or trade deals. We are talking about the survival of a civilization and the soul of the United States presidency. Critics of the president are saying that he has turned the White House into a source of global terror. They point to his Easter Sunday posts, where he used extreme language and told Iranian leaders they would be living in hell. They say this isn't just tough talk, it's a breakdown of the moral order. Ilhan Omar and her allies are arguing that if the world watches and does nothing, then we are all complicit. They are calling this an apocalyptic threat. On the other hand, the White House has dismissed these calls for impeachment as just more partisan noise. They say the president is simply doing what is necessary to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and protect American interests. But even some of the president's usual supporters are staying silent today. They are watching the reaction from the international community. They are seeing groups like Amnesty International call these threats a war crime. They are seeing other world leaders scramble to prevent a total disaster. The pressure is building from every direction. Is this the moment where the president finally went too far? Is this the breaking point that leads to his removal? Or will this be another storm that he manages to ride out while the rest of the world holds its breath? The clock is still ticking, and the world is waiting to see who will blink first. This is the most dangerous moment in modern history, and we are right in the middle of it. The world is holding its breath as the clock ticks toward a deadline that no one ever thought we would see. We are talking about the potential end of a nation, and the reaction from across the ocean has been nothing short of pure terror. Allied leaders who have stood by the United States for decades are now distancing themselves as fast as they can. They are looking at the words of the American president, and they are seeing a neighbor they no longer recognize. In London, Paris, and Berlin, the emergency lights are on in every government building. They are watching a commander-in-chief use social media to announce the possible destruction of 90 million people. And they are asking if the United States has finally lost its moral compass. This isn't just about a disagreement over a treaty or a trade deal. This is about the basic survival of the human race. Representative Ilhan Omar is leading a chorus of voices saying that this is the moment the mask fell off. She is telling the world that we cannot look away from the fact that a sitting president is using the threat of mass death as a negotiation tool, she is calling it what it is, a moment of absolute moral failure. The international community is paralyzed. They don't know if this is a bluff or a promise, and that uncertainty is the most dangerous thing of all. While the White House remains defiant, the rest of the planet is scrambling to find a way to stop a war that could change the face of the earth forever. Every second matters now. Let's look at why the word evil is being used so much today. It's a word we usually save for the darkest chapters of history books, but today it is being shouted in the halls of Congress. When Ilhan Omar calls these threats sickeningly evil, she is speaking to a sense of horror that is shared by millions of Americans. She is pointing out that when you threaten to destroy power plants and bridges, you aren't just targeting a government. You are targeting hospitals where babies are in incubators. You are targeting homes where families are trying to stay warm. You are targeting the very things that keep people alive. This is why the anger is so raw and why the demand for impeachment is growing louder by the hour. The argument being made is that no one person should have the power to decide if a whole civilization lives or dies. We are witnessing a total breakdown of the system of checks and balances. The Constitution was designed to prevent exactly this kind of one-man rule, but the system is being tested like never before. Omar is warning us that if we allow this rhetoric to become the new normal, then the America we know is already gone. She is framing this as a fight for the soul of the country. This isn't about being a Democrat or a Republican anymore. It's about being a human being and deciding if we are okay with our leaders using the language of total destruction. The tension is so thick you can feel it, and the world is looking to see if there is anyone left in Washington who can stop the unthinkable. The streets of America are beginning to react to the news coming out of the White House. From coast to coast, people are walking out of their jobs in their classrooms. They are gathering in town squares with a single message, not in our name. They are hearing the reports of the president's threats, and they are seeing the images of families in Iran who are just like them, wondering if tonight will be their last. The fear is palpable. It's the kind of fear that hasn't been felt in this country since the darkest days of the Cold War. But this time, the threat isn't coming from an outside enemy. It's coming from our own leadership. Ilhan Omar is tapping into this public outcry, using her platform to remind everyone that the president works for the people. She is saying that the American people did not vote for a war of extinction. She is calling for a massive movement to demand that the president be held accountable before it's too late. The White House is trying to play this off as a sign of strength, but to much of the world, it looks like a sign of a leader who has lost touch with reality. We are seeing a historic level of division, with families arguing over the dinner table about whether this is a necessary move to protect the country or a fast track to a global nightmare. There is no middle ground today. You are either for the president's plan or you are standing with those, like Omar, who say this is a crime against humanity in the making. We are now entering the final hours before the deadline set by the president, and the pressure on Capitol Hill has reached a breaking point. Every single member of Congress is being forced to go on the record. Will they support a president who threatens to wipe out a civilization, or will they stand with Ilhan Omar and demand his removal? This is a moment of truth for every politician in Washington. The phones in their offices are ringing off the hook. Millions of citizens are calling in, demanding action. There are reports of heated arguments behind closed doors as leaders of the president's own party try to figure out how to respond. Some are calling for a pause, a moment of reflection, while others are doubling down and saying the president is right to be tough. But Omar isn't interested in a pause. She is demanding an immediate vote on impeachment. She is saying that every minute we wait is a minute we are risking a catastrophe that can never be undone. She is calling out the silence of those who know this is wrong, but are too afraid to speak up. She is telling them that history will judge them by what they do in the next few hours. The tension is unbearable. The military is on high alert. The diplomats have all but given up. And the entire world is watching the clock. This is the ultimate test of our democracy. Can the system stop a president who is determined to go to the edge? We are about to find out. As we reach the conclusion of this breaking story, we have to ask ourselves what kind of world we want to live in tomorrow. We are standing at a crossroads that will define the 21st century. If the president follows through on his threats, the world will never be the same. If he is removed from office, it will be a historic shift in the way our government works. Either way, the era of normal politics is over. Ilhan Omar's words have set a fire that isn't going to go out. She has framed this as a choice between a future of peace and a future of sickeningly evil destruction. The eyes of every person on this planet are turned toward Washington, D.C., waiting for the next social media post, the next press release, or the next move by Congress. This is the moment where we find out if the laws of the land still mean anything. It is a moment of extreme danger, but it is also a moment of extreme clarity. We are seeing the true power of a single leader to change the course of history, and we are seeing the power of those who are brave enough to stand up and say no. Whether you agree with the president or you stand with his critics, one thing is certain. This is the most important news you will ever hear. The stakes are the lives of 90 million people and the reputation of the United States of America. We will be here watching every second of this crisis, and we will keep you informed as the world waits for what comes next. The clock is ticking. Stay with us.